Good evening. Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, September 14th, 2017. I'm Keith Tebow. This week we will take a thorough recap of this week's preliminary election held here in Fall River. And we're going to start right off by bringing in who we bring in every week at this time, Will Richmond, the digital news editor at the Herald News. Will, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Keith. Glad to be back.
Preliminary election in the books here in Fall River, and in some ways, not really too many surprises, as there was a race for mayor and school committee on the preliminary election ballot. Let's start with mayor right off the bat. Will, a lot of people had suggested that it was probably going to be incumbent Mayor Jazio Correa and City Councilor Linda Pereira to advance to November's final, and that was exactly the case. And as the numbers bear out, it was really a big distance between those two and the third place winner, City Councilor Richard Cabaceres.
Yeah, certainly those two went in as the favorites. The mayor has the advantage of incumbency. Linda has the advantage of longevity. The only other real sort of candidate of recognition was City Councilor Richard Cabaceres, but even he's coming over off of just his first term on the city council, and before that was a relative newcomer. So the two of them were the clear favorites. It played out that way, and no surprise that they're moving forward to the preliminary.
Something that is interesting when we head into a preliminary election is a lot of people tend to look at the numbers of a preliminary and how that will translate to a general election. A lot of it is determined about who's in the race, and are those who weren't successful on Tuesday, will they support one candidate over another? Just looking at the numbers, Mayor Correa has a 765 vote lead over Linda Pereira in second place. I know you can't really say what we can predict in November. A lot can happen in the next 7.5 weeks, but at first blush, that looks like it's quite a hill for Councilor Pereira to overcome, based on the low turnout, which is only 18%.
Yeah, so I've been looking at some numbers from this year compared to 2 years ago with the preliminary the last couple of days. One of the things, Mayor Correa had defeated Sam Sutter 2 years ago by 668 votes in the preliminary. So now he's got an extra 100 or so votes that he's working off of in this preliminary. But I think one of the big factors to take into consideration that makes it a little bit harder to kind of look ahead is the lack of a city council preliminary this year as compared to 2 years ago. Some of it's evened out. 2 years ago didn't have a school committee race. There was one this year. So, it does help to even some of that out. But the city council prelim, I think, helps to bring out a lot more voters. There were roughly, I think, 1,700 more ballots cast 2 years ago in the preliminary than there were this year.
Right.
So, that's a lot more votes, while the vote margin is roughly a little bit more for the Mayor Correa this time. It's tough to know once people start coming out to vote for city councilors as well, where they're going to back in the mayor. People tend to vote because they are there at the ballot. So that really makes that sort of look ahead part a little bit more difficult this time around.
And one thing that I will note is, as you mentioned, the higher turnout 2 years ago in the preliminary was 22% 2 years ago for the preliminary, when there was a city council preliminary race. But one thing that you can't really gauge whether what you see in a preliminary will necessarily work itself out in the general election. Back in 2009, when then Mayor Will Flanagan, then he was a candidate, Will Flanagan, was elected, he had his first race with Kathy Ann Viveras. In that preliminary of 2009, actually Kathy Ann Viveras was on top. Don't remember the vote split, but as we all know, in the final election, it was Will Flanagan coming out on top. So there's a lot of work to be done by both of these candidates moving forward, and it's now mano a mano, so it'll be interesting to see how these two candidates handle themselves as we go forward. The other race on election night was for school committee, and we do have the order of results in that school committee race. As you can see on the screen, the top 6 vote getters in that race Kevin Aguiar, Paul Coogan, Joseph Martins, Mark Costa, Mr. Coogan, Mr. Martins, and Mr. Costa, all incumbents, Joshua Hetzler and Thomas Corey. Kevin Aguiar, of course, a former school committee member and a former state representative, has that name recognition. So really no strange feat to have him do as well as he did in the preliminary. Meanwhile, 7 through 12, we have Kristen Govin, Amy Blanchette, Jessica Wong, Crystal Stone, Susan Gankarski-Dunce, and David Cohen. Sean Connell, who finished 13th, not advancing to the general election. Anything here, Will, that sticks out in your mind? You know I expected Mr. Aguiar to do well and the incumbents doing well. Any surprises you saw here?
Not really. I think it was, you know, the three incumbents were set up pretty well. They've all been popular in the past with their elections. With three current members not seeking re-election, it really, you know, paved the way for those three incumbents to stay in position, claim one of those top 6 spots going into the general election. I thought, you know, Kevin Aguiar's finish was probably better than I expected. I thought top 6 certainly made sense. He's been on the school committee in the past. He served as state rep for about a term and a half after taking the seat when Bob Correa became mayor.
Right.
So, you know, he certainly has a number of people in the south end of the city where he represented as state rep who probably are familiar with him from that role. So he really came in strong there. The other, you know, Tom Corey has a school department background.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, it played out pretty well to form. Certainly it's interesting, you know, we're looking at a committee, if it should hold form at this point, of you know, 6 older men.
Yep.
While there's some younger women looking in the sort of back of this pack. So would be good if, you know, we can get this mixed up a little bit, be a little more representative of the public as well. But that's to play out in November, so we'll see how that happens.
And that's why we have elections, right? People who are finished on top get elected, and if they happen to be of one category or another, that's just the way that the elections work out. Just getting back to numbers again, not to complicate people a little bit, but as you noticed, Thomas Corey was the 6th place finisher, and again, the top 6 will get elected in November. Kristen Govin, who finished 7th, again, looking at numbers and whether you have what you have to make up, she is actually 669 votes behind. So it is quite a considerable gap between 6 and 7. Again, based on the preliminary, there's still, again, 8 weeks to go. And Will, that may be, again, a difficult hill to climb, that many votes heading into the November election. Yeah,
but again, similar to that mayor's race, there are a lot of votes out there to be had. So,
that's right.
You know, and I don't think the school committee race got a lot of attention ahead of the preliminary. So those candidates, especially those ones in the back 6, have a lot of opportunity now to get their name out there, talk about what their platforms are and that kind of thing. You know, I think that top 6, there was a lot of name recognition from those 6. So you're right, it is a big hill to climb. The opportunity does exist, though, for them, those sort of back-end challengers, to try to move up a little bit and maybe make a dent into that top 6.
All right, absolutely. Okay, heading into November, as we know, that we'll have these 2 races again. We'll also have a city council race, as there are 17 candidates who will be on the ballot in November to vie for the 9 seats in city council chamber. And there'll also be 2 referendum questions for city voters to decide. One having to do with bonding for a CSO project. We can talk about that as we get closer to the race. But actually, the other item, which is the making changes to the city charter, that's actually going to be up before the city council tonight, as the council is debating how much information, if you will be shared with the voters concerning the charter changes. Talk about that, Will.
Yeah, so there's an effort being led by City Councilor Steve Camara to include a pro and con statement for the charter change on the ballot. For people who have voted in state elections in the past, when ballot questions come up, there is typically a pro and con statement that included with the question on the ballot. So that is something that he is pushing for. There's some disagreement as to whether or not that should appear on the ballot. There's a sort of question in terms of um, whether it's more appropriate that it's on the ballot or in a separate booklet that would be mailed out to candidates.
Right. So that should come up tonight. Actually needs to be decided fairly soon, as the Election Commission needs to start preparing the ballots and getting them printed for November. All right, Will, what's coming up at the Herald over the next few days?
Sure. This weekend, we're going to be taking a look back over the summer and how crime played out over the warm summer months, if there's been any increase over recent years or not. Certainly, there's been a lot of attention lately, as there's been some very public shots fired type incidents and the discussion of moving away from the shot spotter system. So we're kind of taking a look back at crime in the city this past summer.
All right, sounds good. And plus, we're still in summer, technically. We've got another, what, 8 days or so until, less than that, 6 days till the end of summer. All right, well, thanks. We'll have more, and we'll talk to you again next week.
All right, have a good weekend, Keith.
We're going to have more as we recap the preliminary election of 2017 right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Child Focus Clinician. Bay Cove Human Services, located at 292 North Main Street, is looking for a full-time child focus clinician to complete assessments and treatment plans of children who are in crisis and their families in a comprehensive manner, attending to their safety and needs. Job number 952-7814. Sales Analyst. Gold Medal Bakery, located at 1397 Bay Street, is in need of a full-time sales analyst to provide data analysis of category sales management, evaluating profitability of programs. Job number 952-7761. Cook. Kindred Healthcare, located at 1748 Highland Avenue, is looking for a full-time cook responsible for preparing and cooking a wide variety of food for residents, customers, employees, and visitors. Job number 951-8150. Blount Fine Foods, located at 630 Current Road, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Human Resources Manager. Job number 952-7620. Safety Officer. Job number 952-4991. The Fall River Public School Department, located at 417 Rock Street, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions for the 2017 and 2018 school year. Special Education Department Head. Job number 951-8437. Spanish-speaking Parent Community Worker. Job number 952-2290. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Back. We talked quite a bit about the results from this Tuesday's preliminary election. Now let's hear from some of the candidates from Tuesday night. As you know, incumbent Mayor Jaisio Correa came in first in the mayor's preliminary election on Tuesday. Here's some of what he had to say to his supporters.
We're ready to win in November? Yeah. All right. To the people here and to the public watching at home, I am enjoying being your mayor. Every single day I wake up with this wonderful team at City Hall and say, hey, how can we make Fall River better? That's what we do every single day, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So from now till November, I continue to be the mayor. I continue to do the people's business every single day, and we're going to continue that mission through November. We're not going to be negative. We're going to be positive because we have a great record to run on. We eliminated the trash fee. We created a surplus. We took the city from the brink of receivership to a $6 million stabilization account. We added and proved that you didn't have to pin education versus public safety. We added more firemen, more police officers. Round of applause for Jason Burns. Jason Burns. Let's give the fire department a huge round of applause. They endorsed us last night. Thank you for the fire department. We added more firemen. We added more police officers. We added more equipment, new trucks, new SUVs for the police department. We've done so much in such a short period of time. 2 years goes by fast. We need another term, maybe another term after that. We'll see. We'll see. But what we need to do is we need to continue this positive message so that once reelected, if we are fortunate enough to be reelected, and the results tonight show that we're headed in that direction, we'll eliminate the purple bag program. We'll continue to invest in education and build a new Durfee High School. We'll continue to make investments in public safety. We'll continue to be fiscally responsible, and we will continue to put Fall River in the best possible light that it can possibly be. It's our hometown. We love this community. Everybody here loves the community. We are on and up. Let's get this done. Yeah, let's get this done.
In November, we'll be facing City Council Vice President Linda Pereira in the general election. On election night, she started off thanking her supporters.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for being, for all the hard work that you have done. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your loyalty and your friendship. That means the world to me. Today, in spite of a low turnout, we got in the big game. Today was our first step in the journey. Yeah. The preseason is over, and now it's time for the Super Bowl. You ready? Yeah. We took big money. We're average folk. We took big money, and we exposed distortions from fact and lies that Jazel Correa's administration and campaign have built upon. We'll continue to express the real facts. We will pull back the curtains and show that, like the Wizard of Oz, Jazel Correa is the Wizard of Lies. Yeah! But that is for tomorrow. Tonight, we will celebrate our hard work. Let's relax. Let's take a deep breath and get ready for part 2.
City Councilor Richard Cabeceras placed third in the mayoral election, and despite not moving on, he was also thankful for all of his support.
The opportunity to be able to thank every single one of you who came here today. It means the world to me. You guys have been some of the greatest people throughout this entire process. Anything that I asked, you've come and you've overcome anything that's been put before you. You've exceeded my expectations, and I really, really appreciate it. We rocked it today. We did. You felt it. I felt it. We were awesome today. I really, really appreciate all of you. Thank you. We need to continue staying positive. This negativity that's happening in the city of Fall River is not helping anyone. It's not. You see it, I see it, and it's going to continue to create a situation that's happening right now. So we need to continue to stay positive. We need to fight for the Fall River that we deserve, that you deserve, that everybody here in our city deserves.
Jordan Sylvia placed fourth in the race, while placing fifth was resident Ron Cabral. He appeared at Councilor Pereira's campaign headquarters after the ballots were counted to throw his support behind her.
Obviously, you didn't make it to the finals, but you're here at Linda's camp. What's your feeling?
My mom's name's Linda, and I said tonight I'm going to Linda Pereira for next mayor of City of Fall River, and I'm still on the ballot for City Council. So it's all about the people I love, and I love my city.
So even as not serving as mayor, you want to serve as City Council?
Yes.
And why do you think Linda would make a good mayor at this point?
Well, she has the right points, and I know Linda all my life, and she's a good woman. And I said a couple of years, at one of the events I went to, and I said on the radio, it's all about the future, City of Fall River that we love.
Now, how are you feeling just about not making it?
It's all right. The voters made a decision, but it was a low turnout, like I said on Fall River Government TV earlier. It was a low turnout, and I'll make a point with Durfee and do the roster vote and get the kids out there to vote. It was a low turnout, and I don't think that's right. We got to get more people out to vote.
During our coverage on election night, FRG-TV anchor Pamela Martin and myself had the opportunity to speak to a number of successful candidates in the school committee race. In order of their appearance are Amy Blanchette, Crystal Stone, incumbent Paul Coogan, and Thomas Corey.
As a single parent, I do see a lot of need for change. Just, an example, the other day they had a popsicle social at my son's school that was scheduled at 1:30 in the afternoon. And that's not feasible for someone like me who has 2 and 3 jobs, and I can't, take time off of work, to get to these events, all the time. So not just single parents, but working parents as well. I mean, we need to start making decisions, that are feasible for everyone, or at least try to meet somewhere in the middle and make multiple times to hold these events. Because when they talk about parent involvement in the school, that's what it's about. We sometimes have to make decisions, be very versatile.
You had talked about sometimes feeling that there was a racial disparity on the school committee and a racial disparity in our classrooms.
Correct.
Why is that important? What do we got to do to change that, Crystal?
We absolutely have to hire more qualified candidates for teaching jobs that are African American, Latino, Asian, Pacific Islander. We need folks that, frankly, can relate to these kids and that kids can look up to and can relate to their stories and sort of meet them where they are. It's so important.
How excited do you think people are to see a new Durfee, Mr. Coogan?
Oh, I think they're real excited. I think they're good.
I know why.
I know. I know. I worked for a number of years with Pam at Durfee, and I know I'm really excited. I just hope that we can find a way around the financing and get them to believe that this is the way to go and spend the money necessary to give the kids a world-class building. I know, a lot of the scuttlebutt out there is the building's only 40 years old, and I think from what I've done in my number of years walking around there, the building was poorly constructed from the start. I think it just started deteriorating quickly. I don't know if it was the right building for New England, and it just didn't work out. If you look at the old one, whether it's the Tech building or the original Durfee, they're solid as a rock, and they do need maybe some inside amenities, which they did to the old one, and they could always do the Tech building. But the buildings are solid, and I think they'll stand up. I question this one. If we got hit with a real hurricane, which way we'd be going.
Let me ask you about one issue that has come to the forefront recently. Pam brought it up with some of the other candidates, a new Durfee High School. What's your view on that?
Well, I spent 27 years working in the current Durfee High School, and it just wasn't built right from the get-go. Right from the get-go, it was a faulty building, and I can tell you that I've went home many days with severe sinus condition after having spent so many hours in that building on a given day and throughout the entire school year. I got sick several times. One of my friends had a real problem because she had mold in the carpets from the leaking ceiling. So when you look at problems like that, I know that the taxpayers can be alarmed that, the price of a new school could be exorbitant. When you think about the 21st century and the technology necessary to educate our children moving forward, I think a new school would be very, very healthy for the city. And once the taxpayers can come to grapple with the issue of the cost of the building, remember, we're getting 80% reimbursement from the state on that building. I
want to thank all of our staff here at FRCmedia and also at our colleagues at Fall River Government Television for coverage of election night on Tuesday night, and continue to follow both FRCmedia and FRG-TV as we provide coverage of the election right through the election night on November 7th. We'll have more FRCmedia news right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. I would love to introduce you to a very statuesque fellow. His name is Sphinx. He's 7 years old. His presence is overwhelming. He is a handsome and gentle soul that would just love to give you all the attention that he could possibly give you. Come and meet him at Forever Paws. He'd love to meet you. Even though he's 7 years old, he's still got huge personality and very spontaneous and loving. He's a white cat with ginger spots, ginger tabby spots, and 7 years old, already neutered male.
So today we have Cash. Cash is a 4-year-old pit mix. He's a very good boy. He knows a lot of his cues, like sit, as you can tell. He does paw, good boy, and he goes down, good boy, and he's also housebroken. So I know he had a good home before. He also likes to play. We get him in here with toys every once in a while. He's very active in that regard. But I think mostly he just likes being with people. So if you want to meet Cash here, come on down to the Forever Paws. We're located at 300 Linwood Street in Fall River, Massachusetts.
There were some Fall River residents who were not able to vote in Tuesday's preliminary election because they were unknowingly, to them, dropped from the voter rolls. We spoke about this issue with Board of Election Chairwoman Liz Camara.
Now, what are some of the reasons why people were dropped from the rolls?
Usually it's because there is no activity on their records, their voting record. They either haven't voted or they haven't answered our census. So we just ask that it's good at any time, just pick up the phone, give us a call. We'll let you know if you need to be updated and get you back on the rolls again. And if a person isn't doing any activity over 2 state elections, they're automatically dropped by law. We have to do it. So we just suggest that, you check with us. We will send them a card. They can call us. We'll send them a card, and they can vote for November. They'll be able to. They can even register online. If they go on the website, the city website, they can go into the election department, register online, and as long as they have a Mass ID or Mass license, they can do it. And within the same day, we're receiving it.
Now, is that something new?
It's been in effect, I want to say probably within this past year, it's been effective. Yeah.
All right, so that is pretty new. Do people come in and ask about it?
We tell them, because I know a lot of people aren't aware of it. So when they call, we tell them. We give them the options. And, of course, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'll go online, that's fine. And others, they want us to send it.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursday and Friday at 6 p.m. and online 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday.